Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a moment that literally shifted the course of the 20th century, the Chernobyl disaster. We're going to explore exactly what went wrong inside that control room, the absolutely incredible human courage that followed, and the vital scientific wake-up call it forced the entire world to answer. It's an unforgettable historical journey, so let's get into it.
Welcome to our channel, Learning with AJ7. Grab a seat and let's learn together for a few minutes.
Okay, I want you to picture this. Imagine waking up in the dead of night to the sound of a massive explosion echoing in the distance. But what you don't know, what you literally couldn't possibly know, is that the very air around you has just become incredibly, intensely dangerous. Right? It sounds like a sci-fi movie plot, but this is exactly what went down on one shocking night in 1986. It became the world's worst nuclear disaster, and it changed thousands of lives in an instant.
To put things in perspective, before disaster struck, the city of Pripyat was just full of life. Just look at that number, 49,000. That's how many people called this modern, bustling city home. It was a peaceful place where kids played in green parks and families enjoyed their weekends together. Most of the folks living there worked at the nearby Chernobyl nuclear power plant. And, they proudly believed they were powering millions of homes across the Soviet Union. Nobody in this lively town had any clue that their entire world was about to change overnight.
Okay, let's dive into this. To understand the massive failure, we've got to look at the engineering. Reactor 4 used a process called nuclear fission. Basically, tiny atoms in uranium fuel create massive amounts of heat, which turns water into steam to spin giant turbines for electricity. It's an incredibly efficient way to generate power, but here's the catch. It requires absolute 100% precision. The radioactive materials inside are highly volatile, so if you operate outside of strictly controlled parameters, well, your margin for error basically drops to zero.
And that brings us to the exact timeline of the catastrophe on April 26, 1986. Engineers were running a safety test on reactor number 4. The goal? To see if the turbines could keep supplying power briefly if the main supply failed. But things went terribly, terribly wrong. To even run this test, they deliberately turned off several critical safety systems, pushing the reactor into a highly unstable state. And instead of stopping when communication issues popped up, they just kept pushing forward. Then, at 1:23 a.m., power inside the reactor spiked completely out of control. The pressure built up, and then, boom. 2 massive explosions completely annihilated reactor number 4, sending burning graphite and radioactive debris rocketing into the night sky.
Now, the explosions destroyed the building, sure, but the real nightmare was the invisible enemy released into the air, radiation. This is a form of energy that you can't see, you can't smell, and you can't taste. Because there was no immediate physical warning, people were literally walking right up to the debris, completely unaware they were absorbing fatal, massive doses of radiation. A reaction that was supposed to be perfectly contained was now just totally exposed to the open environment.
Which leads us to a truly heartbreaking contrast. The incredibly brave firefighters going up against this unseen threat. Within minutes of the blast, firefighters rushed to the scene to stop the flames from spreading to the other reactors. These guys were heroes, plain and simple. They climbed up onto burning rooftops, hauling heavy hoses through thick smoke and intense heat. But tragically, they thought they were just fighting a normal fire. They had absolutely no idea they were standing in the middle of highly radioactive, deadly debris. Their bravery absolutely kept things from getting much, much worse, but man, so many of them paid a devastating price.
By the very next morning, the contrast was just haunting. On one side, you have this destroyed reactor spewing invisible poison, but just a few miles away in Pripyat, life was going on almost completely as normal. Families woke up, made breakfast, and sent their kids outside to play. Sure, some folks had noticed a strange glow in the sky the night before, and a few even complained of a weird metallic taste in their mouths. But the terrifying reality of the danger was being totally hidden from the public. They were unknowingly breathing in radioactive particles drifting right through the morning breeze.
So that raises a pretty chilling question. How long can you really hide a disaster of this magnitude from the rest of the world? Well, as it turns out, not very long. Scientists and experts in other countries started checking their radiation levels, and their instruments started going crazy. We're talking off the charts. Some detectors literally maxed out and couldn't measure any higher. The wind was carrying all that radioactive fallout across Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, and eventually right across Europe. So what began as a covered-up local accident rapidly blew up into a massive, undeniable international emergency.
It actually took 36 hours after the explosion for authorities to finally, officially evacuate the citizens of Pripyat.
Just think about that number, 36 hours of totally unprotected exposure. When the hundreds of buses finally rolled in, officials told everyone to pack only their essential items, promising they'd be back in just a few days. Parents were carrying their babies, kids clutched their favorite toys, and people locked their doors fully expecting to return, but they never did. Pripyat became a ghost town almost overnight, frozen in time forever, with belongings left exactly as they were.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer unprecedented scale of the human response. We absolutely have to talk about the liquidators. These were hundreds of thousands of ordinary people who were called upon to clean up the unthinkable. You had brave helicopter pilots flying right over the burning, exposed core, dropping bags of sand and lead, getting blasted with deadly radiation every single trip. You had engineers, soldiers, doctors, miners, and volunteers out there clearing radioactive debris by hand because the radiation was so intense it was literally destroying the machines. They sacrificed so much, and their selfless courage saved countless lives across Europe. Taking a brief pause here, the story of the liquidators is just this powerful reminder of the extraordinary things ordinary people can do when faced with an absolute crisis. If you're finding this explainer valuable and enjoying learning with us, please take a quick second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. All right, let's look at how they actually managed to trap the radiation.
To stop any more radioactive material from leaking out, it was an absolute race against time. Over just a few months, in 1986, working in some of the most dangerous conditions imaginable, workers built a massive concrete and steel shelter right over the destroyed reactor. This was known as the sarcophagus. It was a hasty, temporary fix just to buy the world some time. But fast forward to 2016, and you see an incredible leap in engineering. International teams came together to build the new safe confinement. This is this gigantic, state-of-the-art steel arch, literally one of the largest movable structures ever built on Earth, that they carefully slid right over the old sarcophagus to lock in that radiation for generations.
But you know, even with the reactor finally covered, the land around it remains deeply, deeply scarred. Following the disaster, authorities established a 30-kilometer exclusion zone all around the plant, and even to this day, it is a heavily restricted area. People are still not allowed to live there because the radioactive contamination is just too high. So the homes, the schools, the playgrounds inside that 30-kilometer radius, they sit completely empty of human life, standing as these silent, eerie monuments to the disaster. However, there is a really fascinating silver lining here. In the complete absence of humans, nature has made this remarkable, surprising return. Without us living there, incredibly diverse wildlife has essentially reclaimed those abandoned city streets and forests. Today, if you go there, you'll find wolves, deer, foxes, wild boars, and lynxes just roaming freely. It's actually turned the exclusion zone into a massive outdoor laboratory. Scientists study the area constantly to see how radiation affects ecosystems over time, and honestly, it really showcases the awe-inspiring resilience of the natural world.
So the crucial point is that while the story of Chernobyl is a profound tragedy, it's also a powerful blueprint for global change. Let's quickly recap. First, a poorly managed test caused Reactor 4 to explode. Second, it was only through the unimaginable bravery of everyday heroes, those firefighters and liquidators, that the invisible radiation was actually contained. And third, the world woke up. It completely transformed global nuclear safety. Power plants everywhere improved their designs, and the global community learned that honesty, quick communication, and international teamwork aren't just nice to have, they are absolute requirements.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative question that goes way beyond 1986. As we continue to invent and build increasingly powerful technologies today, how can we ensure we actually use them responsibly? History teaches us that we have to respect science, follow safety rules without exception, and listen to the experts. Chernobyl proved that our responsibility in managing technology is the only thing that truly protects the world. By remembering the past, we can absolutely make wiser decisions and build a much safer future for everyone.
So we'd love to hear your thoughts on that question. Let us know down in the comments. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching Learning with AJ7. We'll catch you in the next explainer.